Is the goal that you're going after something that you actually want, or has somebody else subconsciously programmed you from a young age and now you're moving towards a destination that you actually don't want? I'm your host, Daniel James, and as always, if you're new here, welcome. This comes off the back of a call I've just finished. Literally 3 minutes ago, I was on a live call, finishing off a 13-week program that I've been doing for a very well-known veterinary practice. And one of the last things we spoke about was fat loss and nutrition and how mindset affects that, because a lot of people on this program at the very start said that fat loss and improving their health was a big issue for them. So I thought, okay, the last workshop, we're going to cover that because that used to be my background. And as I was going through this, I realized that so many people are going after a goal that's not actually theirs. Now, today specifically, I'm going to talk about fat loss, but this goes to anything. When we're younger, we get programmed. We don't have the ability to critically think. At that age, between the ages of roughly 0 and 7, the whole point of that age is to just become aware of our surroundings and basically get programmed so that we can become functioning members of society. And what did you experience during that time? Did you experience one of your parents constantly obsessing over their weight? Were they constantly doing new diets? Constantly trying out new fad machines, the latest thing, having all the cookbooks? Were they constantly talking about other people's appearances? Were they constantly critiquing their own appearance? So then, as a young age, you got told, this is really important. This is something that I need to make a priority in my life. And now as an adult, either a young adult or a fully fledgling adult, because I don't know how old you are now obsessed with this thing about hitting a certain number on a scale because that was conditioned to you from an early age. Or you've got to be a certain clothing size because that ties into your self-worth. When actually you take a step back, you realize that's not what you want. You actually, yourself, you don't care that much about how you look. As long as you're fit, you're healthy, and you're comfortable, that's okay. But there's that nagging thing that's bubbling away underneath the surface that keeps telling you, no, you're not good enough unless you weigh this. You're not good enough unless the number on the scale says that. You're not good enough unless you fit into these types of clothes. But where's that come from? Because if you're not aware where it's coming from, you can't do anything about it. It's just taking that step back. Ask yourself, is that what you actually want? And again, this could be doing anything. Maybe the job that you're in, the career you're in, maybe you're feeling really unfulfilled and you don't know why. And actually, maybe because your parents forced you down a path that you didn't necessarily want to go. And again, all of these things, it's not saying these people are bad. I'm not one of these people that's, your parents are terrible people. I'm not saying that at all. Your parents did the best with the information that they had. Just like right now, you're doing the best with the information that you've got. But it's realizing the patterns have come from somewhere. So where have the patterns come from? It's just taking that deep dive and asking yourself, okay, well, why? Why am I in this job? Like, why did I choose this profession? And actually what you might find is it rekindles that fire because maybe you did choose it and maybe you've forgotten why you chose it. You got caught up in all the politics. And let's go back to fat loss. Maybe fat loss is important to you, but why? And is it more important that actually you're fit and healthy and in a comfortable pair of clothes, as in comfortable size for you, not comfortable as in like jogging bottoms? Is that more important, or is it actually important that you hit a number on a scale? And if it is that, why that? Because you get a lot of sports athletes that from a young early age, they get conditioned that their match weight or when they're in the optimal condition is at a certain number. So as adults, if they're not that number, it throws them. Bearing in mind that they were kids there. Again, young teenagers could be 18, 19, 20 years old. And now as adults, they're still expecting their body to weigh the same and look the same as a teenager or a young adult. Are you in that same boat? So start to ask yourself some questions. Why do I want this? Is this really important to me? Because that might be the reason why you keep self-sabotaging, because you don't really want it. Because if you really wanted it, you'd be wanting to change. You'd be asking yourself, God, why has this happened again? Like, why have I fallen off the bandwagon? And you do something about it rather than going through these really negative, toxic cycles, trying to live somebody else's expectation of how you should look. Rather than actually, if you can take a step back and realize, well, you know what, actually, that's not what I want. I don't want to lose 30 pounds. Do you know what? Actually, I want to lose 10 pounds because that will mean that I'm feeling and moving better. I can play with my kids with a lot more ease. But more importantly, my health is the key thing. The fat loss will be a byproduct, but actually, it's my health that's important to me because I want to be around to see my grandkids. Or maybe you actually want to have kids. Okay, well then health should be a priority. So can we see when we start to realize why we're doing what we're doing, and we come from an empowering place of, actually, I want this for me because it means I can do A, B, and C. That's going to give you some leverage on yourself to keep pushing through when times are tough. But potentially the reasons why you failed before is because you had no leverage because you didn't really want to do it. Maybe it's your partner that's put some expectations on you. Maybe he's made some comments. Maybe it's friends or people at work. Not many of making comments about you, but they make it about other people. So then you've then conditioned yourself to think, that must mean they mean that about me too. So ask yourself, maybe put the way that I do this, I think I spoke about this before, or definitely have. Just write it down on the center piece of paper, like a spider diagram. Write fat loss, or whatever your goal is, whatever that is. And just for 10 to 15 minutes, just like a spider diagram, just write off those different things. Anything that comes to your head associated with that word. And just write it down, just go to town. Because once you give yourself a timer, your conscious thinking mind won't be able to keep up. So then your subconscious programming is going to start to come out. At the end of that timer, you're going to have there, subconsciously, some of the things that you think about that word and that association. So you can now see, oh God, well, I didn't actually realise that that's linked into my mum, and actually my partner said this when I was younger, and my ex-boyfriend, blah, blah. Start to realise, start to recognise the patterns, because once you're aware of it, you can do something about it. You can't change what you're not aware of. Awareness is the key. Give yourself that power of awareness when it comes to anything. I've just used it for fat loss, but it could be anything. It could be to do with your finances. You think you've got to earn a certain amount of money. Why? Do you think you've got to have a certain kind of partner? Why? Why? Maybe even kids. You think you've got to have 3 or 4 kids. Why? Where has this stuff come from? Is it yours? Or are you simply living somebody else's life because you never realized that you could stop and direct your boat? You can direct your life in the direction that you want to go. Don't let somebody else steer your boat. Take the time to reflect. Take the time to ask yourself the difficult questions. And even if hearing this is making you feel a bit uncomfortable, good. It's making you uncomfortable for a reason. I would lean into that. Lean into it, get uncomfortable. Because remember, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you're not prepared to get a little bit uncomfortable, nothing's going to change. If you've taken any value from today's episode, don't forget to give it a like. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. It massively helps when it comes to the YouTube algorithm. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever else you listen to your podcasts, if you give us a follow and give us a review and a rating, that'd be absolutely incredible. Until next time, take it easy.